Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Nishant, and on this channel, you'll find some good quality chess content. And today, we are going to analyze this middle game. This is actually a game played by Gary Kasparov against Andrei Karpov. This was a World Championship match, a very important one. And in this position, you have to find all the imbalances present in the position, then a plan based on those imbalances for white, and how can white implement the plan. That means the moves which you are going to play. So uh, you're in this position, you have to study the full middle game, the full position, this position, and then you have to find a move, a good move for white. So feel free to pause the video, take your time, and then we'll resume. So I hope that you have paused the video and you have found out the move for white. So first of all, what are the imbalances here? Here black has 2 pawns on the queen side, white has 2 pawns on the queen side. So here there's no actual queen side majority for anybody. We can see that there are 3 pawns for black on the king side, and but white has also 3 pawns, but these 2 pawns are doubled. So, but these double pawns might trouble white in the end game, but in the middle game, like none of them are in attack. The g2 pawn is protected by the king, the g3 pawn is protected by the f2 pawn. So that's not really an issue. Then piece activity. We can see that this bishop is aiming at this knight, and this bishop is unsupported. So if the knight moves to a5 or d8, black will trade these bishops, and then this uh, black can attempt to trade these bishops, but he should not, as this bishop is a good one, and it's also looking at that diagonal and at that g2 pawn. So black will not love to trade the bishops, nor will white, because even this bishop is a good one. So both will try to keep their bishops on the board. Then if this knight moves, this knight can our f3 knight can enter e5, and then from there create a threat of going to d7, from where it will fork the f6 queen and the f8 rook. So this knight is also doing a great job of controlling the e5 square for black. Then we can see the rooks, that the c1 rook is on an open file, but so is the c8 rook. So these both rooks are like, we can say, challenging each other with this knight in between. And the white's e1 rook is also on an open file, but we can see that black's f8 rook is doing nothing here. It's just defending the f7 pawn, but which is already well guarded, and also there's just no attack against it. So this f8 rook really doesn't need to be on that f8 square. So black would love to, if black is given the chance, black would love to play rook fd8, from where it is coming to an open file, and it is also pinning the d5 bishop. So now we can see that black has played the move queen f6, from where it is also supporting the knight one more time, and it is attacking a b2 pawn. So your Gary Kasparov, instead of playing a move like queen d2, or let's say even b4, Gary Kasparov plays the very active move queen to a4. The reason is that now you actually cannot capture the pawn on b2, because if you were to do so, like queen takes b2, this knight has lost its supporter, one supporter. So oops, sorry, not rook takes, but bishop takes. And here we can see that white is just a piece up, because after even bishop takes, rook takes, white is just a piece up. So the queen cannot leave this rank, because it's supporting the knight after the move queen to a4. So yeah, black played the move rook f2 d. Black played the move rook f2 d8. It is attacking the bishop, and uh, as we discussed earlier, the black rook would love to come to d8, from where it is just controlling an open file. So Gary Kasparov, instead of some defensive move, played rook c to d1. He understood that a defensive move would be to just drop the bishop back, or even although that was also fine, but Gary Kasparov understood the position very well, and he understood that the rook is not needed now on c1, because Anyways, it is not controlling the open file because black's rook is also there, which is targeting the file, and they both are just challenging each other. So also this bishop is lovely on this central square from where it has a lot of scope. So Gary Kasparov understood that the c1 rook does not need to be on c1, so he places it on d1 from where it supports the bishop. And now on d1, you can see that it controls a more central file. Like these rooks are open, controlling open central files. This queen is targeting, just putting some pressure on this knight, and also has a lot of scope. Whenever needed, it can just come to the king side to attack via queen to g4. We can also see that the h6 pawn is a hook. So but now it does not contain much importance because g4 g5 is anyway not possible, because even our king is like after g4 g5 even our king will become a little bit weak. So rook c to d1 was a very good move. Here Gary Kasparov plays the move. Here Anatoly Karpov plays the move rook to d7, which was kind of not a very good move, because first of all his idea is simple. His idea is to double up along this file and just put pressure on the bishop. But what he did not see was that he's putting this rook on an unsupported square. So Gary Kasparov took his chance and played the move queen to g4. As we had discussed earlier, to attack, the queen can just shift from the queen side to the king side in just one move. It has a lot of scope. So now it is attacking this d7 rook, and Anatoly Karpov thought that instead of just moving the rook anywhere, why not continue with our idea and double up the rooks on the d file. So now this is your chance, guys. You have to take some time. Take 15 seconds to 30 seconds or even 1 minute. Take as much time as you want, and find the tactic that Gary Kasparov saw in this position that Anatoly Karpov just overlooked it, and which caused Anatoly Karpov to resign in just some 2 to 3 moves from this position. So the move that Gary Kasparov played was queen takes d7. Now, so if you look at this position from a complete beginner level, and if you just like if there is a beginner and if you show this move to him, he will say that it's just a blunder because you're just giving up your queen. But Gary Kasparov was playing the world championship, so and so he was a pretty strong player, and he is also considered to be arguably one of the best chess players to ever live. So he might have some he obviously had some calculations in mind. So the idea behind the move queen takes d7 is to deflect this rook off this file and to bring it to an unsupported square. Remember on this move how we talked about bringing the rook to the d7 square, which is unsupported, is bad for black. Gary Kasparov did the exact same idea by sacrificing his queen. So now rook takes d7 was just forced, and now this is the main continuation. If you just saw the move queen takes d7 without seeing the continuation, the move is correct, but your idea is wrong, because when you are playing a tournament, let's a classical tournament, you are not giving up the queen. You are just not sacking the queen for like anything. uh, you will not sack the queen for nothing. Like you have to calculate ahead and see what happens, if the variation really works or not. So after queen takes d7, rook takes d7, here you have the move rook to e8 check, and the king has only one square, which is h7, and here you play the move bishop to e4, bishop to e4 check, taking advantage of the fact that the rook is unsupported, as we discussed earlier. You play the move bishop to e4 check, and your Karpov just resigned in this position. But for the understanding of you guys, I'll show you what could happen if the game had continued. Let's say a move like g6. Here we play rook takes d7, and we already have 2 rooks for a queen, but that's not enough. Now we are attacking the bishop, which is supporting this knight. I mean, the queen's also supporting, but now we are attacking the bishop. The bishop has to go to, let's say, a6, and then once it moves off the square, just you look at the activity of the white pieces. Like the queen is just tied down to the support of this bishop. You can even play something like takes and knight to e5, where uh, black really has nothing great to do. Also the f7 pawn is under attack, so let's say you play bishop takes, queen takes, and rook takes f7, and that's actually a checkmate. Oh wow. So that's the reason Anatoly Karpov resigned in the position. So guys, this is how this is what the middle game was. And the thing which I love the most about this game is that how Gary Kasparov sacked the queen in such an important match. So that shows the guts he had, and he was so confident about his calculations. So see you in the next video. Thank you.